Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest installment in our UXDX online series. I hope you're as excited as I am for our talks that we have tonight. But before we jump into the talks, I want to give a very quick introduction to UXDX and why we host these sessions. So at UXDX, our mission is to help companies shift from building software using waterfall projects or fragile, fake agile type approaches to using empowered autonomous product teams. And the reason why that's our mission is because it's a more innovative, more sustainable, more efficient way of working in a high change environment. So if you're like a lot of companies where you've got 100 plus projects going on at any given time, it doesn't make sense to build a team, put them on something, disband it, build another team elsewhere. If you can keep teams consistently working in the same areas where they can really understand the customer and really start innovating on their needs, that's when you can get those products that start really kind of leading the market. Now, that's really easy to say, a lot harder to do. So that's why we invite people to come and share different aspects of the product development lifecycle and how they're improving or how they're changing and with things they're doing to improve their ways of working. And hopefully when you're watching these talks, you'll have some questions around how could I apply this in my context? So at the end of each of the talks, we'll be asking you to ask some questions to the speakers. So please feel free, whether it's in the chat on uxdx.com, on YouTube, LinkedIn, whichever platform you're watching this on, please enter in your questions and we'll put those questions through to the speakers. Now, sometimes we don't get a chance to answer all of the questions. So that's where the UXDX community Slack group comes in. And we have a channel in there called Ask the Speakers. So anything we don't have time to get to today, we'll put those questions in there and we'll invite the speakers to come and answer them for you. But that's enough about me and the introduction. You're not here to see me, you're here to see our speakers. So I'd like to introduce our first speaker for the evening, and it's Shambhavi Pandey, who will be talking about how to come up with the next needle-moving feature for any product. So I'm excited to see this. So I'd like to welcome Shambhavi to the stage. Hello.
Hey, hi everyone. Hi Rory, thanks for the introduction. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm very excited today. This is Shambhavi, and I'll be talking about how to come up with the next needle moving feature for your product area. And specifically, I'll be starting with what are these needle moving features, and also why should you care about them. And then I will be talking about a 5-step framework that you can follow to nail down the next needle moving feature for your area. So before we get into it, just a little bit about me. So I am an engineer turned product manager turned entrepreneur. I have spent about 2 years in engineering and 10 years in product management in companies like Amazon, Groupon, and Home Depot. I have worked a lot in e-commerce and within that personalization and marketing. And then later I also got into the B2B space. So did some enterprise product management for Amazon business customers. And currently I'm running my own startup called Mentor Me Good, where I help people to land their dream roles in big tech and other tech companies. So yeah, let's get into it. So what are needle moving features? So why don't we look at some features and maybe you can chat, write your responses on the chat box, and we'll see if some of them are needle moving or not. So starting with the first one, this is Microsoft Bing. And here the use case is that the user wants to plan a Disneyland trip with a 5-year-old. So on the left-hand side, you're looking at an old experience where someone would go to the Microsoft Bing and just search for a Disneyland trip with 5-year-old, hoping to get like ton of blogs and personal experiences from people to see how they should go about it. But on the right-hand side, you'll see the new chat feature from Microsoft Bing, where the user asks, instead of search, they ask, help me plan a Disneyland trip with a 5-year-old, and a bunch of more questions. And in the result, you'll see that they get a structured response to each of their questions. So do you think this is a needle moving feature? I think this is. because this fundamentally changed how the user is going about their use case of planning a Disneyland trip. Let's look at one more. So on the left hand side, you have the good old pressure cooker, a slow cooker. But on the right hand side, you have Instant Pot. Now, for those of you who don't know, Instant Pot came in as a product in Amazon Marketplace without any big launch or uh, standalone launch, but it still was a hit because it fundamentally changed how people cook, and they built a community around it to share recipes. And this was certainly a needle moving feature. Let's look at one more. So here you'll see you have two landing pages. On the left hand side, you have one image. On the right hand side, the image is changed, but rest of the things are same. So is this a needle moving feature? Probably not. You may get a lot of incremental benefit from this if this website has a lot of features, sorry, a lot of users. Then even a small incremental impact on an individual basis can add to a big impact for the product, but this is not really a needle moving feature. So having looked all this, what are the attributes of needle moving features? So the first is it improves the outcome of users significantly on a per user basis. So as a user, your behavior can change, how you interact with the product can change, and it's not just a small change on the website. The second attribute is that these product features are often first in their market. So they might be a distinguishing feature, something that people have not seen before. And the third one is that these features have major impact in the product's trajectory overall, its growth, and it can also impact the other product features of that product. So, having looked at what needle moving features are, you must be thinking, why should you care? Now, like me, if you are into product management, you know that you have to juggle a ton of things as a product manager. You might not have to do everything that's on the slide, but you definitely do a lot of stakeholder management, coming up with roadmaps, looking at data, and so many things. But if I were to ask you, what is the main deliverable that you have? What would you say? Is it building roadmaps, or is it planning meetings, or is it doing the user design, working with the UX team, or what is it really? So I think as a product management manager, delivering business impact is the number one priority. You may ship a lot of features, uh, but someone who has shipped 10 features versus someone who has shipped one feature, do you think you can tell who is a better product management? Probably not, because it's always about delivering the business impact. And when you deliver a needle moving feature, you deliver on the business impact. So now that we know that why delivering needle moving features are important, let me share with you a 5-step framework that I think will help you have a structure to your thought process and come up with a needle moving feature for your product area. So the step one of this 5-step process is to understand your product's output metrics and actions that drive them. So I will be using an example throughout this framework, just so that you can resonate with it better. Um, so let's take an example of LinkedIn, and let's look at how do you think about the output metrics. But first, what are output metrics? Now, these are the metrics that you don't control directly, but they are the outcomes that you want. For a product, there could be many output metrics. It could be in revenue, it could also be monthly active users. Because when you come to think about it, you can't really do something to increase monthly active users directly. You launch features, you influence the input drivers that in turn impact the output metrics. So in this case, for LinkedIn, I have chosen subscription revenue and ad revenue as two output metrics, just for this example. And then within ad revenue, one of the things, again, output is the time spent on platform. Now, what are the actions that you want the user to take to drive these output metrics? So if you look at subscription revenue, you want the users, specifically job seekers, to find jobs, and the recruiters or hiring managers to find the leads. If they do that, people will subscribe to their LinkedIn Premium, and which in turn will drive revenue. The other option is to have courses so that the job seekers can upskill, and that would again then contribute to subscription revenue. If you look at ad revenue, the time spent on the platform, if you enable creators, it will definitely drive time spent on the platform and ad revenue. And if you, the last one here is enable conversations between users, which is LinkedIn messaging. So if you help somehow or add features that will help users communicate with each other better and get the results that they want, the ad revenue will increase. So that's the first step, where you have to understand what are the output metrics of your product and what are the actions you want to drive to achieve those output metrics. The step 2 here is to connect those actions with the input metrics for your product area. So input metrics here are the metrics that you can directly influence. Whenever you launch a feature, you define a feature, you have an input metric in your success criteria. So these are the actions from the previous slide. And let's say that your product area is LinkedIn messaging, and your the action that you want to drive is healthy conversations between users. Now, think of the input metrics that are relevant to this. So, for example, one could be number of sends. If people send more messages, then that's good for your product area. The second could be reply rate. So, if users is sending messages to other people, how many percentage of those messages get a response back? So that's reply rate. And then there is conversation depth, which is measuring how many back and forth messages are exchanged on an average. And if you have this number more, it means that users are having meaningful conversations among themselves. So for the sake of example here, let's say you have data and you see that you have reasonable amount of number of sends, but your reply rate is really low. And that's where with the same action, you have selected reply rate as your goal metric. So this is step number 3, where you select a goal metric among the input metrics that you have, and then you have to build a hypothesis or multiple hypotheses that would drive the reply rate. So we moved from the output metrics to relevant actions, the input metrics, and we chose a goal metric. Now, with reply rate as a goal metric, you have to think about what are the hypotheses or what are the things that you can do to drive this. You start with asking yourself how to increase the reply rate of LinkedIn messages. You dive further into data and you find out why is the reply rate low. There could be multiple reasons. Maybe users are not seeing the messages, or maybe they see it but they don't reply because there is a lot of friction in replying. And it could be a combination of both. And by using data and the user feedback, you will understand which of them to prioritize, or you may come up with hypotheses that will help solve both the issues. So in this case, for example, one of the hypotheses that you can have is that if we send email reminders to users for unseen messages, then it will lead to high reply rates because of increased awareness, because probably people are just missing out on these notifications. So that sounds reasonable. There could be another hypothesis that if we give in-mail credits to users who reply to messages, then it will lead to high reply rates because of incentivization. So introducing a gamification element here. And one more hypothesis that we can throw in is that if we auto-suggest replies on messaging, then it would lead to high reply rates because of ease of use. So once you have the hypothesis laid down, you go to the next step. So that next step is step number 4, which is to prioritize the hypothesis to validate. So in this case, so usually when as product managers we are prioritizing, simply put, we use 2 criteria generally. One is the estimated benefit, and the second is the effort that it will take to do it. Now, in this case, I recommend you also use a third criteria when you look at these hypotheses to see whether these hypotheses or features, they have a potential of being a needle moving feature or not. So, for example, if you look at our hypothesis from the previous slide, if we send email reminders to users for unseen messages, it may help us, but we may have data from our previous like emails, like click rate, open rate, and with all that data, we can see that maybe the estimated benefit is not that high. We can also work with our engineering team to figure out what is the effort. Similarly, we can do it for all these hypotheses. But when you are trying to evaluate whether the feature has the potential of being a needle moving feature, you go back to the attributes of a needle moving feature. So remember, in the beginning, we saw that it should have a high individual impact. So there should be a shift in how the user is interacting with the product. So hypothesis number 1 doesn't satisfy that criteria. Similarly, you should also look if this is the feature that we don't offer, or no one in our market is offering. And you should also look at whether it has a potential of changing how people in general interact with LinkedIn messaging and other LinkedIn products as a whole. So with these 3 criteria in mind, you should prioritize the hypothesis. And which brings me to the last step, which is launch the needle moving feature. Now, usually the first 2 steps are same how you would go about any other feature. So the first one being define the feature. Sure, you convert your hypothesis into a well-defined feature. Include the end-to-end customer journey, the mocks, the assumptions, and everything. And the second step is to have a launch plan, which we usually do when we launch something. So when you're launching something as an experiment, include the experiment details. What would be your success criteria? What is the dial-up schedule and rollback plan? The third point here is the difference where you need to track the attributes of needle moving features. When you launch this as an experiment, you should measure the impact per user. Because that's the key of a needle moving feature. You should also see how does it impact the other product areas. So if, for example, in LinkedIn messaging, if people are, if you have a high reply rate with this feature, are people using more of other LinkedIn features because of this? So that takes me to the end of the 5-step framework. This is a quick recap. The first step is to understand your product's output metrics and the actions that drive them. From the actions, you come to the input metrics. So connect the actions with the relevant input metrics. The third step is to select the goal metric out of all the input metrics and then come up with multiple hypotheses. You will also need to drill into data for this. The next step is to prioritize the hypothesis. Make sure that you are looking for those needle moving attributes when you prioritize, along with the estimated benefit and the effort. And then the last step is to launch the feature and measure the right uh, like metrics to make sure that this indeed turned out to be a needle moving feature. So with that, I will come to questions. Um,
Excellent. Thank you very much, Shambhavi. That was a really nice kind of structured way of going from zero to good features. I have a few questions, but if anybody has any questions out there, please do post them again on whichever platform you're watching on. So it could be on UXDX or YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever, and we'll collate those through. One thing that I was thinking of was the inputs to kind of your output metrics. So how did you track those, or what kind of tools or structures do you use so that people, because I can imagine this could almost be fairly static in this first step, that it's almost quite common which things impact your core metrics.
yeah, so your question is about how to go from output metrics to input metrics.
Yeah, sorry, and what tools do you use kind of to track that?
Yeah, so I would say so. Firstly, to come up with the output metrics, you should know the business model really well, and then from output to input, the best way to go is to uh, like track those actions, because it is hard to come, for example, from ad revenue to enabling conversations. But if you look at what are the actions that you need to increase the time spent on the LinkedIn website, you and you think through it, you will come up with a lot of actions that a user should be taking. We want the user to take. So, like taking another example, like there is a popular use case of onboarding users. A lot of sites, they onboard users and they want to make sure onboarding is a really frictionless experience, but they still want to get the right like the number of details that they want. So if again, if you want to increase the signups, which would be the input, which would be the input metric, and you want to like grow your business, that would be the output metric. So the action that you want to take is that you want to make sure your sign up flow is really easy, and like visually very intuitive. And so when you think about the action, then you can relate that, okay, if it is frictionless, then I would increase my signups. So it's really going from output to the action and then the input metric.
Great. And do you track these in like Excel or an opportunity solution tree, like a Miro board or something like that? Or how do you track these?
Yeah, I think this kind of activity is a good, like a collaborative effort. So any kind of whiteboarding tool would be great for it. Like if you are in person, then actual whiteboard would be good as well. But other than that, like I don't think like there is a specific tool that you have to go for it. It's more of a like a exercise, a collaboration where you get ideas from like different stakeholders, taking into consideration whatever you know about the product, because you will have some data about the users, the feedback. Yeah.
Great. And there's a question just came in from Gary on the kind of taking it to the hypothesis stage. Who do you get involved in that? Like, so which team members, and how do you pull people in to try and get you from that, okay, this is our metric, to these are our ideas?
Yeah, I think the number one is your customer. So if you are a consumer company, you would have like a lot of data on where the customer is spending their time. You may also have a website feedback mechanism where they'll send you feedback. So that will help you identify that, okay, this is a real problem. And sometimes the customers give you their version of the solution, that, oh, I wish this was there. And if you see that bubbling up like from a lot of users, then then that will be a good hypothesis to have. If you are in a B2B space, you're talking with customers, sales, and customer success managers. I think those people are like of really great help when you are building your hypothesis. And I've often also seen, because it depends on how the team is structured, but if there is a UX team that kind of is a central team, they would know a lot of issues that you as a PM of a silo product doesn't know. So it will be good to involve them as well.
Excellent. And then there's the age-old prioritization. So I like the way you added in an extra step into the prioritization of, is it, I guess, the volume or the chance needle moving nature of
Yeah.
the item. How do you, because I've seen the kind of benefit cost factors being a bit challenging, because historically we're very poor at estimating how much of a benefit something has and how much of a cost. So what do you do to try improve your tactics of figuring out roughly how much do we think this can improve it and roughly how much will this cost?
Yeah. So definitely there is no one answer for all types of features. But going back to that example where you want to estimate what will be the impact of sending emails, right? So you are sending other types of emails. Maybe you are sending transactional emails or some other emails. So you know what is the engagement on that, and so you kind of use that number and try to estimate like how much this will be successful. It really depends on the feature, but you should always have some estimation instead of just being like blank. Uh, so um so estimated benefit, I feel, is definitely an important prioritization criteria. It just cannot go away. So benefit and the cost are important. And the reason I added a third one is because as a product manager, when you are building your roadmap, you want the roadmap to be balanced. It should not be that you are only doing KTLO features, or you are only doing those small incremental features or compliance features. You should have like think big or needle moving features in there as well, so that you have both short term and long term like value getting delivered. So thinking about this third dimension will help you make sure that the roadmap is balanced.
Excellent. Yeah, no, it makes sense, and I think it's a very good point. And then the final question that I have, but please do keep sending in your questions, is just around the execution step. So do you put any kind of iteration or kind of validation early on in there, or how do you spec out how you should go about delivering this?
Yeah. So if we talk about this example, where you're trying to introduce, let's say, auto replies, now this would require a significant investment in a machine learning solution that would where you will use your data, and then it would automatically predict like different responses that the user can choose from. So you don't get into doing that huge investment right away. So there are ways that you can iterate on it by building something small. So for example, in this case, you can have a rule based system where, as LinkedIn, you know what are the popular question types that people are getting. So job seekers, a lot of time, they want to connect with people for a one-on-one chat to explore opportunities, or they want someone to review their resume. So there are these popular types of things, and a rule-based system which is a quick and less costly way to implement this solution. From that, you can easily understand if people are really responding positively to it, if it is indeed increasing the reply rate. And if that is happening, then you can invest in a full-fledged machine learning solution. So this was relevant for this example. But similarly, for any other thing, like if you have a way to test something on a smaller control group with a cheaper solution, like you should go for that first. And if you get evidence that, okay, this would work, then you can invest in a full solution.
Excellent. Well, that's a great approach to it. So I think that brings us actually to time, but thank you very much, Shambhavi, for sharing that process. And thank you for for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Rory. And I do cover the execution piece in a video. So if you want, I can share the link of that to you so that we can share it with the audience.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent. So up next, we have Victor Hugo, who will be talking about employee experience empowered by metaverse. So I'm very excited for this. So I'd like to welcome Victor to the stage. Hello, Victor.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. So I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you. So, at first, I'd like to say that I'll talk about our experience at weme. Just wondering about how could metaverse could increase the employee experience, empower the employee experience in different types of organizations. So at weme, we are a team of different specialized professionals connected to boost the power of innovation and entrepreneurship in organizations using design for it. And we believe that work can be inspiring and gratifying and joyful. And this is a kind of non-declared employee value proposition I believe that we has for our WEMers. And I'm here to tell you how a powerful journey can transform the way good things are built, especially in WEM's case. So, and how might we get inspired in metaverse to empower this journey of different employees trying to deliver more value for our clients? And it's essentially about people, their interaction, what they manifest, how they communicate, how they learn in this immersive and virtual environment. And even that we still don't have a complete metaverse as everybody talks about in different reports, but we are already trying to learn how could employee experience be increased in this type of space and environment in the future. So let me share this experience. But at first, I would like to say that we believe that a powerful journey starts inside of the company and not necessarily outside. So we start with our culture, and we believe that our employees reflects in our clients' experience. This is a type of thing that makes our daily effort to make our employers to think things like this. We would like to think that the detail matters and that we love when we listen to this kind of thing coming from our employees, the WEMers. So they say things like, at WEME, I can be who I really am. It's a safe place to bring our opinions and thoughts. It's a design company for designers, and I see the impact that we provide for our clients. This is the kind of thing that when we listen, we have an evidence that we are building a sense of belonging and the responsibility in our designers as if they were the owners of the business. So at WIMI, we use it to have a physical space like this, where the clients could go and have joy moments together while they were creating innovation projects for their companies. So WIMI really represents uh, uh, a good moment in the routine of our clients. They usually love to come out of their offices and have a nice space where they can put their ideas, their crazy ideas, share it one to the other, and they could build really disruptive solutions for their usual problems. And then this was our daily routine, doing projects, using Lego, using papers, post-its, and everybody meeting and different clients meeting spontaneously and sharing their ideas or their challenges, and sometimes creating projects together in a spontaneously way. And then after that, uh, then after all this, we use it to do this, but then one thing changed the game for us. One thing made everything different, and then we needed to adapt ourselves. And then we started to do what everyone was doing. We started to use Zoom meets, started to use Discord, Miro, and all those tools were important and were good, were nice. But creating channels with the same names that we had in the rooms in our physical headquarters, or meeting just people we have scheduled to meet, was not enough for us. We were used to have spontaneous meeting in our office, and our coffee machine was a very special place for the Wimmers, because in different projects, different designers were meeting spontaneously at the coffee machine, and they were sharing ideas, and sometimes they were creating incredible solutions with the insights they could have in these spontaneous moments. And we were losing all this because we were just meeting ourselves when we had a scheduled meeting, or when we entered in a channel at Discord and discussed something, some problem. Everything was very planned, and we were losing our spontaneously moments that were so special for us. And then we heard about the metaverse. We thought, oh, it would be wonderful if we could interact in a place like the metaverse. So, but when you read about the metaverse, when you watch videos, when you read reports, when you try to understand the impact of the metaverse in the routine of people, you can find always the same. Metaverse will be a very big thing. So, one in four people will pass 1 hour a day in the metaverse from 2026. So this seems to be a lot. This seems to be a lot of people using the metaverse. Sometimes we can think that it depends on the concept of metaverse we are adopting to 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 believe that this kind of engagement will be possible. And I think that the most important thing in metaverse is not if we are using a 3D space or a 2D space, but it's about the inexorable dematerialization of physical space, distance, and objects that the internet is delivering for each one of us that are passing more and more time immersed in a virtual space that merges the physical and the digital experience we have. And when we were thinking about our employees' experience, we were thinking how most of them are young people. Some of them are from Generation Z, and Generation Z is a generation that is growing in the metaverse. So we just try to understand that what were their expectations, né? And we understood that Generation Z was looking for a place where they could stay most part of the time. Relationships were built straightened in the metaverse. They feel more authentic and free to explore who they really are, and they feel that games improve mental health and help them express themselves even offline because of the type of the experience they have online. So it seems to be a good solution for women, don't you think? Uh, the metaverse allows Generation Z to dream and create a world worth living. So it seems to connect with the Winnie's idea of how to offer a nice employee experience for our women. And the metaverse is not an escape, but an extension of the reality. So, okay, can we can believe in metaverse, but how could we put it in practice? So we understood that people in the future may use metaverse to buy things, to socialize, and to work in the metaverse. But how can we how can we do it happen? Is it possible today, or is it? So what can be done? That can we imagine that maybe we don't have still the resources to deliver a metaverse experience for all our employees, but how can we come closer to it and have the benefits of this type of immersion? So we always knew that our employee experience would reflect our client experience, but we were already spread uh, in Brazil, in different places of Brazil, with different resources of connectivity, with different technological uh, uh, gadgets, and we couldn't offer the same experience for each swimmer if we decided to use a 3D immersive virtual environment. So it would not be actionable in the daily routine in our projects. So we had a challenge. How might we prototype an accessible metaverse to empower our team collaboration? And when I say accessible, it may be a low fidelity uh, solution that could give me some insights of what is important for employee experience in a virtual space, and some insights about how would it be in a real metaverse in the future. So today we are using Gather, and we are a remote first that we have built a city, a whole city in the Gather, and this is part of our company in Gather. This is our office. And this is where we stay most part of the time. Uh, so this is an example of usage when we have an avatar, and then we can walk through different rooms and talk with different people, and we can make workshops. We can have a room and divide people into different tables for them to collaborate, and they can listen to comments to come together again. After group collaboration, they can come together, and then they can separate themselves in groups again. So we decided to use this platform, and we have some learnings about this that have impacted our employee experiences. And this is an example of the whole the whole vision of the office. We have some other places like a beach in the backyard. We have uh, we have the city with other buildings with our clients, and we have some secret spaces that people can find here. We have a pet store because we use it to have a pet company client, so we have a pet store. And then people have been adapting this space as if it was their space. So they are not users; they are creators of the workspace we have here, and they are putting their identity in the way they built this space with different interactions. So some of our insights are about self-expression. So collaborators can express themselves through avatars. They can move around, walk from room to room. They can dance. They can celebrate. They can react to information, and they customize their workspaces and leave gifts, messages with each other. So if I had a help of a friend in a project, it is common that I can leave a gift in the table of this friend, thanking that person for helping me, and some gifts with a message. It's interesting and it's common, and it's a kind of behavior that emerged from the women's interaction. Uh, so spontaneous connections is the one of the most important thing I think we uh, have uh, restored uh, for our culture. So we can we can pass through another women in the corridor, and we can wave hands, and we can ask for a conversation. So we can organize social events. We can participate spontaneously in an event. We can see it's happening, and then we can enter there and be part of it. And then we have restored the idea of spontaneous meeting in the card machine that usually create cross-team collaboration between different projects. We can imagine and create and customize our space. So it is common, even for our clients, to customize the room they are working on. And if is a birthday of a member of the team that is working on a project, it is common to put a cake, a birthday cake, in the table, and then everybody that passes there can enter in the room and can say, "Hey, happy birthday!" So and make some nice wishes. Um, so we have engaged our team not just in their jobs, but especially in connecting each other. And they created a connection that makes more synergic, uh, that creates more synergy in working on projects together. So I think that we have increased the confidence, and they are engaging with creating important ceremonies. So we have a Happy New Year ceremony. We have each 3 months we have a special ceremony that we call Rede Narok. That is a ceremony where we can see what have we achieved in the last 3 months, and we can celebrate together. And we have the sense of belonging between the winners. So with more interactions, not just in projects and not just in scheduled meetings, we have created these spontaneous meetings that are not just for job, but especially for joy. And then they can share uh, the, the their problems, their challenges, and their successes in their projects, and they usually feel they are more connected. The sense of belonging and the owner behavior is stronger now than before, even for the ones who have arrived after the pandemic period and have never been together before. And we have moments to learn and share. As organizations and individuals, we are always learning, and this space provides different opportunities to spontaneously find people and share opinions and learn something interesting. So we can share thoughts with each other, we can create events, and we can have quick insights that can help us how to to innovate in our projects. And we don't leave fun out of the work, so we have a lot of fun moments in our job, and we have competitions. And this is an example of a kart racing in our projects, and a curiosity is that this guy in this car racing is the CEOs that participating in the competition. So this is the kind of environment we have been creating at weme. And these are some of the numbers we have achieved or maintained using this kind of solution to deliver a better employee experience. We have 40% growth each year since 2017. We have a 90 NPS number, and we have a pulse of 4.3. Pulse is a measure that we use each week to understand how are Weimer's satisfaction and emotions in working on that week. So this is the average we have maintained since we have used this this environment to work together. Now I can answer some of your questions, and it would be interesting to receive some of you visiting us, so you can register your interest to visit together in this QR code in your screen.
Excellent. That's a really innovative way of doing it. So thanks very much for sharing the kind of concepts there. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, please do write them in again on UXDX or on YouTube, LinkedIn, whichever platform you're using. So I have a few questions that we could start with. And one of the things that I was looking at is with Gather, one of the points is that it's great in that you can kind of walk up to people, have a chat with them, like you're kind of almost replicating an office. Does that mean that you're working all day with your cameras on? And does that lead to any challenges?
You're not working all day with cameras on. When you are alone, your camera usually gets off, and then when someone arrives, you can turn it on, but you are notified, and then you can turn it on. And then you can decide to put the camera on all the time, but usually it closes when there is nobody next to you.
Okay. And are people, is there a sense of, because I know when some people were trying that out amongst other solutions, but there was a sense of your boss is spying on you because they'll walk around and just make sure people are at their desks and things like that.
Maybe it would happen in another culture of company, but I think that at weme we have a a very nice culture that people feel they are in a secure place. So I think it's not a sense not it would not be caused because of the platform, you know. I think that it's something more related with the culture or the kind of uh, control tools, something like this.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I guess just back to the original premise of the metaverse, and I think you gave some stats about how many people an hour a day and by 2025. Is that is that really going to happen? Because I think the metaverse has been one of these things, almost like crypto or something, that where people or NFTs, people were kept saying they're going to be huge, but it just didn't really happen, or it hasn't happened yet.
I think that it will happen, but I think that if you see the Gartner hype cycle, the metaverse seems to be in the beginning, and to achieve the productivity plateau is something with more than 10 years to happen. So we are doing today an effort to prototype, uh, creating environments and observing how people are behaving in this environment, uh, how they are bringing the resources that are there, and how they are using it to do whatever they want. So this is the kind of observation we are applying in this environment, you know. And I think that until the metaverse be uh, the common thing for everyone, we have a lot to experiment. We have a lot of things to prototype. We have a lot of things to learn. So we are just trying to create this type of experiences in our daily routine.
Makes sense. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I guess there's some of the things I'm always optimistic about the future. So looking forward to seeing what comes from it. But yeah, I think that's it for the questions coming in. So we'll finish up. Thank you very much again for sharing how you work. It was really good to get an insight about how you structured your offices and things like that. I always find that really interesting. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Thanks. So that actually brings us to the end for today. But if you did enjoy the event, please do consider joining us at our main conference in the UXDX USA, which is in New York from May 16th to 18th. We'll have 25 speakers, 8+ workshops, 500 attendees. So we bring everybody across product, UX design, and dev together. And it's a fantastic place just to meet people. The energy is great, and it's also fantastic for learning and building your network. So please do consider joining us there. But if not, I'll see you at the next UXDX community event. Until then.